A grand five-star hotel lobby in New York City gleamed with golden chandeliers and polished marble floors. Expensive perfume floated in the air, mixed with the sound of designer heels clicking against the floor. Rich businessmen and celebrities walked through, their presence demanding attention. But suddenly, the calm atmosphere broke. Two hotel security guards stepped forward aggressively, blocking the entrance. A tall black man, dressed simply in jeans and a fitted shirt, walked toward the reception desk with steady confidence. But the guards extended their arms like a barrier. "Excuse me, sir," one of them said firmly. "This area is private. Guests only." The man paused, surprised but calm. "I am a guest," he replied, his voice calm yet powerful. But the second guard smirked, looking him up and down. "Guests here don't dress like that." He motioned toward the man's casual outfit. "This is a luxury hotel. Maybe you should try somewhere cheaper." A couple nearby chuckled under their breath. A woman in a glittering gown whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "He probably wandered in from the street. Look at him." The man's jaw tightened, but he didn't raise his voice. Instead, he pulled out his phone, showing them something on the screen. "I told you, I have a reservation." But the guard pushed his hand down without even looking. "Listen, buddy, I don't know how you even got in here, but this hotel isn't for you. Please leave before I call the manager." Now, people were watching. Businessmen, tourists, waiters, everyone turned their heads. Some smirked, others shook their heads in disapproval. The man stood taller, his eyes burning, but his face still calm. "You want to call the manager?" he asked softly. "Fine, call him." The guard rolled his eyes. "You asked for it." Moments later, the hotel manager stormed out from the back. A tall white man in a sharp suit radiating arrogance walked quickly toward the scene. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his voice echoing across the marble. "Sir, this man claims he has a reservation," the guard explained. "But clearly he doesn't belong here. Look at him." The manager turned to the black man, his eyes narrowing with contempt. "Sir, this hotel is one of the most exclusive in New York. Our guests include billionaires, politicians, and royalty. We don't just let anyone walk in off the street. Please don't embarrass yourself. Leave now." Whispers rippled through the lobby. People were enjoying the humiliation. Phones came out. Some were even recording. The man remained still. His silence was louder than any words. Then, slowly, he smiled. "You're making a mistake," he said calmly. The manager scoffed. "The only mistake here is you thinking you could fool us. Guards, escort him out." One guard grabbed his arm roughly. The man didn't resist. He allowed them to pull him back toward the door, but just before they pushed him outside, he turned his head toward the crowd. His eyes scanned the lobby, the shocked guests, the laughing women, the mocking businessmen, and with quiet authority he spoke. "Don't worry. You'll all see who really owns this place very soon." The crowd laughed. The guards sneered. The manager shook his head, but no one knew. That man was not just a guest. He was the CEO, the actual owner of the hotel chain. And within minutes, everything in that lobby was about to change. The heavy glass doors of the hotel closed behind him with a loud thud. The guards smirked, brushing off their hands as if they had thrown out nothing more than trash. Guests in the lobby returned to sipping champagne, gossiping and scrolling on their phones, chuckling about what they had just witnessed. Inside, the arrogant manager straightened his tie, proud of his decision. "Another troublemaker dealt with," he muttered under his breath. But outside the hotel, the man who had just been thrown out pulled out his phone again. He dialed a number, calm, composed, and unshaken. "Yeah, it's me," he said into the receiver. "Activate the team, now." Back inside the hotel. The hotel staff were still laughing. A receptionist leaned over to her colleague. "Can you believe the nerve of that guy? Acting like he belongs here." The manager overheard and smirked. "These people always think money is just about walking into the right place. But class? Class is something you can't buy." Suddenly, the glass doors swung open again, but this time the man wasn't alone. Two black SUVs pulled up outside the entrance. Out stepped three sharply dressed men in tailored suits carrying leather briefcases. Their presence immediately commanded attention. The guests stopped laughing. The receptionist froze. Even the guards stiffened. The casually dressed black man walked back in, this time with his team right behind him. He wasn't smiling anymore. His expression was sharp, powerful, and deadly serious. The guards moved forward again, but one of the suited men flashed a badge. "Stand aside." His voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. The manager's face twisted with irritation. "What is the meaning of this?" "I told you, sir, you are not welcome." But he stopped mid-sentence, because the casually dressed man pulled out a sleek black leather folder from his pocket. Slowly, deliberately, he placed it on the reception desk, sliding it across the polished marble. Everyone leaned closer. The receptionist's hand trembled as she opened it. Her face went pale. Inside were official ownership documents. The name printed in bold letters, Marcus J. Williams, Chief Executive Officer and Owner, the Williams Luxury Hotel Group. Gasps filled the lobby. Guests covered their mouths. Staff exchanged shocked glances. The guards looked as though the floor had been ripped out beneath them. The manager's mouth hung open. This can't be real," he whispered. Marcus, still in his casual clothes, looked him straight in the eye. "Oh, it's real, very real. And right now you should be asking yourself one thing." The manager swallowed hard. What's that?" Marcus leaned forward, his voice low but razor sharp. "How long do you think you're going to keep your job after what you just did?" The atmosphere shifts. Whispers spread like wildfire through the lobby. "Wait, he's the CEO? The man they threw out owns this place?" "No way." "This is insane." Phones came up again, but this time people weren't mocking him. They were recording history. The manager stumbled backward, sweat forming on his forehead. "Mr. Williams, I had no idea. If I had known—" Marcus raised a hand, silencing him instantly. "That's the problem. You didn't care who I was. You judged me the second you saw me, and that says more about you than it does about me." The guards looked nervously at each other. One of them tried to step forward to explain, but Marcus cut him off without even looking. "Save it. I saw everything." The staff were trembling now. The receptionists lowered their eyes. Even the wealthy guests who had mocked him earlier shifted uncomfortably in their designer suits. For the first time, Marcus's calm voice boomed through the lobby, filled with authority. "Clear the lobby. Everyone who works here, stay where you are." The luxury guests hurried away, whispering and gossiping. Phones kept recording, but no one dared interrupt. The staff stood frozen in place, fear gripping their hearts. The manager tried to force a smile. "Sir, maybe we can handle this privately," Marcus's sharp laugh echoed. "Privately? Oh no. You humiliated me in front of everyone here, and now I'm going to deal with you in front of everyone." The manager's face drained of color. Marcus slowly stepped forward, scanning the faces of the staff, one by one. "You judged me by my clothes. You judged me by my skin. And you thought I didn't belong here?" He paused, his eyes locking on the trembling manager. "But the truth is, I built this hotel. Every brick, every chandelier, every dollar that keeps the lights on, it's mine." The silence was deafening, and then Marcus spoke the words that sent a chill down every staff member's spine. "You're all fired!" The lobby erupts. The staff gasped collectively. The manager stumbled backward. You can't be serious!" Marcus's assistant stepped forward, pulling out a tablet. "Termination letters are already drafted. Security footage of this incident has been saved. By tomorrow morning, this entire staff will be replaced." The guards' faces went white. The receptionists began to cry, and the arrogant manager dropped to his knees. "Please, Mr. Williams, give us another chance. We didn't know who you were." Marcus stared down at him coldly. "That's exactly the point. You shouldn't treat people with respect because of who they are. You should treat them with respect because it's the right thing to do." The crowd outside the lobby doors, guests, journalists, and onlookers, erupted into cheers. Some clapped. Others shouted, "Yes! Teach them a lesson!" The once mighty manager was now begging on the marble floor in full view of the world. Marcus turned, his voice echoing like thunder. "Respect is not for sale. And if you can't understand that, you don't belong in my hotel." The lobby, once filled with laughter and arrogance, now trembled with fear and shame. The chandeliers still sparkled. The marble floors still shone. but the atmosphere had completely shifted. Marcus stood tall, arms folded, his gaze sweeping across every trembling employee. The manager, once smug and arrogant, was now on his knees, hands clasped together, begging. "Mr. Williams, I swear it was a misunderstanding." "Please, we'll do better, I'll do better. Don't destroy my career over this." Marcus tilted his head slightly, his eyes cold. "Your career?" he said softly, but his words cut like glass. "You didn't hesitate to destroy mine in front of this entire room when you thought I was just another black man in casual clothes. You didn't see a person. You saw what you wanted to see, someone beneath you." The lobby was silent except for the faint sniffles of a young receptionist, tears streaking her face. She whispered under her breath, "I'm sorry." Marcus turned toward her. His expression softened for a moment. "You? You laughed too," the girl gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. Marcus's assistant stepped forward, tablet in hand. "Mr. Williams, as we discussed earlier, the footage has been secured. Should I upload it to the official hotel page? It will go viral within minutes." Gasps filled the room again. The staff looked horrified. Their humiliation wouldn't just end here, it would be broadcast to the entire world. The manager scrambled up from the floor, reaching out desperately. "No, please, not that. My family, my reputation, my entire career will be ruined. I'm begging you, Mr. Williams." Marcus's jaw tightened. He leaned down until he was eye level with the man. His voice was calm but carried the weight of thunder. "You should have thought about that when you humiliated me in front of my own hotel. Actions have consequences." The crowd outside by now, a crowd had gathered outside the glass doors. Guests with their phones pressed against the glass, tourists snapping photos, even reporters had begun to appear. A murmur spread through them. "That's Marcus Williams. He owns this place? They tried to throw him out? No way!" Flashes from cameras lit up the lobby. What had begun as a private humiliation had turned into a public scandal. The staff breakdown, one of the security guards, who had been silent until now, stepped forward nervously. "Sir, I was just doing my job. I didn't mean any harm. I have a family." "Please don't fire me!" Marcus turned his gaze on him. "Doing your job doesn't mean judging people by their appearance. Doing your job means protecting all guests equally. Instead, you decided I wasn't worth respect. That wasn't your job, that was your prejudice." The guard lowered his head in shame. His hands trembled at his sides. The receptionist who had laughed earlier dropped to her knees, too. "Please, Mr. Williams, I didn't mean it. I thought you were—" Marcus cut her off sharply. "You thought I was less. That's all you need to admit." The words hit her harder than any punishment could. Marcus speaks to everyone. Marcus stepped into the center of the lobby, his voice echoing off the marble walls. "Listen to me, all of you. This hotel doesn't just represent wealth or luxury or status. It represents my values. And if you think for a second that you can treat someone differently because of how they look or how much money you think they have, you don't belong here." He paused, letting his words sink into their trembling hearts. Respect isn't something you give only to the powerful. Respect is something you give to everyone, from the janitor who cleans these floors to the billionaire who books the penthouse suite. Because without respect, this hotel means nothing. The staff looked down at the floor, ashamed. Some had tears streaming down their faces. Others shifted uncomfortably, unable to meet his eyes. The manager's desperation. The manager suddenly lunged forward, falling at Marcus's feet. "Please, give me another chance." "I'll change. I'll prove myself to you." Marcus stared down at him, silent for a long moment. The entire lobby held its breath. Finally, Marcus spoke. "You had your chance. Every single day you walked into this hotel, you had the chance to treat people with dignity, and you failed. Today wasn't a mistake. It was a revelation of who you really are." He stepped back, his voice like steel. "You're finished here." The manager's cries echoed through the lobby, but Marcus didn't flinch. The final blow. Marcus turned to his assistant. "Effective immediately. Fire every single employee involved in this incident. Issue a public statement. By tomorrow morning, this hotel will have a new staff, one trained to treat every guest with respect, no matter who they are. The assistant nodded. Consider it done. The staff collapsed into despair. Some wept openly. The arrogant manager lay on the floor, broken and humiliated. And Marcus, the man they had judged and rejected just minutes earlier, stood as the undeniable owner, the true authority in the room. A quiet moment as the crowd outside roared with approval. Marcus stepped back, looking at the chaos. For a brief moment, his expression softened. He thought of all the times he had faced judgment in his life, all the doors that had been closed on him simply because of his skin color or the way he dressed. And now, here he stood, not just in those doors, but owning them. His voice, softer now, carried one final message to the room. Never judge a book by its cover. You never know if the man you're humiliating today might be the one signing your paycheck tomorrow. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. The guards, the receptionist, the manager, all stared at him, broken, defeated, and silent. Marcus turned and began to walk toward the exit, his team following close behind. The doors opened automatically, and as he stepped outside, the crowd erupted into cheers. Cameras flashed. Voices shouted his name. Inside the lobby, silence reigned. The once proud staff were now nothing but ghosts in the empire Marcus built. The night outside was alive with camera flashes and murmurs of disbelief. Reporters shouted questions, trying to capture the moment. Mr. Williams, is it true you were denied entry at your own hotel? How do you feel about firing your entire staff on the spot? What message do you want the world to take from this? Marcus paused at the bottom of the hotel steps. The city lights glimmered behind him, casting a glow that made him look like a figure carved out of power and resilience. He turned to face the cameras. His voice was steady, strong, and deliberate. The world needs to understand something, he said. Power isn't about money. It isn't about fancy suits or titles. Power is about respect. And respect should never be conditional, not on race, not on clothing, not on status. Respect should be unconditional for every human being. The crowd went silent. The words struck deep. Marcus's eyes scanned the faces, journalists, guests, even random passers-by who had stopped to witness history being made. Today wasn't about me, he continued. It was about every person who has ever been judged, looked down on, or turned away because they didn't look the part. To those people, I say this: don't let anyone tell you that you don't belong. Because one day, you may own the very place they tried to keep you out of. The crowd erupted in cheers. Some people had tears in their eyes. Phones captured every second. The speech was destined to go viral worldwide. Back in the hotel inside, the once proud staff packed their belongings in silence. The manager sat alone in his office, staring blankly at the termination letter in his shaking hands. His empire of arrogance had crumbled in just a few minutes. The receptionist who had laughed earlier sobbed quietly, whispering to herself, I wish I could take it back. But there were no second chances. The marble floors, the golden chandeliers, the polished counters, they no longer belonged to them. Marcus's words echoed in their minds like a haunting reminder. Respect isn't for sale. The next morning, the news spread like wildfire. Social media was ablaze. Hotel staff threw out their own CEO. The ending? Brutal. Marcus Williams proves why judging by appearances is the biggest mistake you can make. This is the most powerful lesson in leadership I've ever seen. Clips of Marcus's speech flooded TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Hashtags like Respect First and Our Marcus Williams trended globally. The world wasn't just entertained, they were inspired. A conversation with his assistant later that morning. Marcus sat in the penthouse suite of his own hotel, overlooking the skyline. His assistant entered, carrying fresh reports. Sir, the media is everywhere. The stock of the hotel chain has gone up 12% overnight, and thousands of people online are applauding your stand. Marcus nodded, sipping his coffee quietly. Good, but this isn't about stocks. It's about setting a standard. If my hotels are going to represent me, then they need to reflect my values. No arrogance, no discrimination, only respect. The assistant hesitated, then asked, Do you regret firing the entire staff? Some people are calling it too harsh. Marcus turned, his gaze firm. Too harsh? He leaned forward. Was it too harsh when they dragged me out like I was nothing? Was it too harsh when they laughed, humiliated, and mocked me in front of strangers? The only thing that's harsh is the world they created, one where respect is only given to people who look rich. I will not allow my hotel to become part of that world. The assistant nodded slowly. Understood, sir. A symbol of change within weeks, Marcus rehired a completely new staff. But this time he chose differently. He didn't hire people based on their appearance or status. He hired based on character, humility, and empathy. The janitor who once worked unnoticed now greeted guests with dignity and warmth. The receptionist who once struggled to find a job because she didn't look polished enough was now the smiling face at the front desk. Every staff member treated each guest like royalty because Marcus had taught them that respect is the real luxury. The hotel became more than just a place for the wealthy. It became a symbol of fairness, a beacon of change in the heart of New York City. The moral months later, during an interview on national television, Marcus was asked the question everyone wanted answered. Mr. Williams, what lesson do you want the world to take from that night at your hotel? Marcus leaned forward, his voice calm but unshakable. The lesson is simple. Never underestimate someone because of how they look. You never know who they really are, or who they will become. The man you humiliate today could be the one who changes your life tomorrow. He paused, his eyes piercing through the camera lens. And if we all learn to respect people, not for their status, but for their humanity, this world would be a much better place. The studio fell silent. The audience gave a standing ovation. Final scene back at the hotel, Marcus walked through the lobby. Guests smiled warmly at him. Staff greeted him with genuine respect. The same chandeliers sparkled overhead, but the air felt different, lighter, cleaner. He stopped for a moment, looking around. This was the same place where he had once been dragged out, humiliated in front of strangers. But now it stood as proof of change. Marcus smiled faintly to himself and whispered, "This is what respect looks like." And with that, he walked toward the elevator, the doors closing behind him, leaving not just a hotel, but a legacy that the world would never forget.